Welcome to the Summer Food Service Program Basics, Enrolled Sites, Participant Eligibility, and Documentation Training hosted by the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs, also known as ODE-CMP. This training will review enrolled sites, how to determine participant eligibility needed for free or reduced price meals for these site types, and related documentation. The Summer Food Service Program will be referred to as SFSP for the duration of this training. In this training, we will review information on types of enrolled programs, how to determine eligibility of a participant, alternate eligibility documentation, and final notes on participant eligibility. To start off, it is important to know about the types of enrolled sites. These types of sites are for enrolled children or to an identified group of children only. This is different from an open site, which serves the participants in the community at large. There are two types of enrolled sites that may be approved for the SFSP. Camps can be residential or non-residential day camps, which offer regularly scheduled food service as part of an organized program for enrolled children. In residential camps, participants spend the duration of the organized program in a 24-hour supervised care setting and receive regularly scheduled food service as part of the program. Sponsors of non-residential campsites must offer continuous schedule of organized cultural and recreational programs for enrolled children between meal services. Camps are reimbursed only for those enrolled children who meet the free or reduced price eligibility standards. This is unlike open and restricted open, as well as some closed enrolled sites, which may be able to use area eligibility. Camps, however, are unable to use area eligibility to qualify the site. As the name suggests, a closed enrolled site is only open to enrolled children or to an identified group of children. Closed enrolled sites are usually established where an identified group of needy children live in a pocket of poverty, identified low-income children are transferred to a congregate meal site located in an area with less than 50% eligible children, or a program provides recreational, cultural, religious, or other types of organized activities for a specific group of children. Unlike a campsite, closed enrolled site sponsors can claim meals for all participants at the site for meal types it is approved for. Closed enrolled sites must establish the eligibility through the individual income eligibility of the children attending the site or through area eligibility. To establish eligibility based on the income of individual children, sites must collect income eligibility forms. At least 50% of the enrolled children at the site must be eligible for free or reduced price meals. Instead of determining the individual eligibility for each enrolled child, a site may document its status as closed enrolled site by using area eligibility information. This may only be used if the site is serving children that live in the area in which the site is located. The site information sheet that the sponsors submit to ODE-CMP with an application to participate in the SFSP must include the projected number of children eligible for free or reduced price school meals and the projected total enrollment for each site. If site eligibility is based on individual eligibility forms, ODE-CMP must carefully monitor actual participation during the early program visits to ensure that the 50% level is actually reached. Accredited summer schools do not qualify as closed enrolled sites and should obtain reimbursement for meals under the National School Lunch Program, or NSLP. Schools wishing to serve meals only to children enrolled in academic summer school programs may receive reimbursement only through the NSLP and school breakfast program. If in addition to serving children enrolled in accredited summer school, the school plans to serve children in the community at large, it may operate an open site through the SFSP or the Seamless Summer option as an open site. For information on open sites and how to qualify sites using area eligibility, please see the Summer Food Service Program Basics, Site Eligibility, and Documentation Training. Sponsors of closed enrolled sites that are not area eligible must have the following information on file for each site: records of the total number of children enrolled at the site, and the actual eligibility forms for income eligible children, or lists of income-eligible children provided by the school system. For a quick comparison between camps and closed-enrolled sites, there are differences on whose meals can be claimed and how many meals may be approved to be served. Camps are reimbursed only for meals served to children who meet the income eligibility criteria, meaning only participants that qualify for free or reduced price meals may be claimed for reimbursement. Camps may be approved to serve up to 3 meals a day per participant. For closed-enrolled sites, 50% of the participants must be eligible for free or reduced price meals in order for a site to qualify. In this instance, all meals at the closed-enrolled site served to participants may be claimed for reimbursement. Closed-enrolled sites may be approved to serve up to 2 meals, including a breakfast and lunch, each day. There are a couple select programs that can assist in qualifying a site and/or its participants. These types of programs include the National Youth Sports Programs and Upward Bound. The National Youth Sports Program, or NYSP, is intended to provide economically disadvantaged youth the opportunity to receive daily sports instruction and education programs. A NYSP site may qualify for the program by determining 50% of the children enrolled reside in geographical areas where poor economic conditions exist, determining that 50% of the children enrolled meet the income eligibility guidelines for free or reduced price school meals, or certifying in writing that it meets income eligibility guidelines of the Department of Health and Human Services, or DHHS, which is the primary grantor for NYSP. The DHHS income eligibility standards for participation at NYSP are stricter than those used to determine eligibility for free or reduced price meals. To qualify for participation in NYSP under DHHS rules, at least 90% of the enrolled children must be at or below the federal income poverty guidelines. Thus, if a site meets this standard and qualifies for DHHS funding, then it will qualify for participation in the SFSP as well. In addition to written certification that the site meets DHH income eligibility guidelines, sponsors must review NYSP records to verify that the information is correct. Upward Bound is a program funded by the U.S. Department of Education to provide fundamental support to teens preparing for college. Upward Bound serves students from low-income families and those families where neither parent has a bachelor's degree. While participants in Upward Bound are not categorically eligible for free or reduced price meals under SFSP, sponsors of Upward Bound programs may use the Upward Bound application in lieu of a confidential income statement to determine individual eligibility. Those children who are determined for Upward Bound based on income may be considered eligible for SFSP meals without further application. However, participants who are determined eligible for Upward Bound based on criteria other than income, such as being a potential first-generation college student, must complete a confidential income statement in order to determine individual eligibility for the SFSP. Next, we are going to review participant eligibility. Generally speaking, children and teens ages 18 and under may receive meals through SFSP. A person 19 years of age and over who has a mental or physical disability as determined by a state or local education agency and who participates during the school year in a public or private nonprofit school program established for the mentally or physically disabled is also eligible to receive meals. It is important to note that requiring participants to provide documentation showing their age cannot be required. For camp and enrolled sites, participants' eligibility for free or reduced price meals can be a factor in the site or participants' eligibility. Next, we will discuss how sponsors can determine participants' eligibility using family income. The Confidential Income Statement, also known as the CIS, is one of the ways sponsor staff can use to determine participants' eligibility. This is the form families can complete in order for a sponsor to determine the child to be eligible for free or reduced price meals. When distributing the CIS form, the letter to the household must be distributed with it. The information collected on the application includes if the participant is a foster child, household size and income, and categorical eligibility via either the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families, or TANF, or the Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, or FDPIR. The CIS and the letter to the household are available in both English and Spanish on ODE CMP's SFSP's webpage, which is linked to in the description below. If other languages are needed, please contact your assigned child nutrition specialist. Sponsors must maintain original approved forms for all eligible children, and the documents must be available for review by ODE CMP. For camps, these forms may be in separate files for each camp session. Sponsors are not required to submit approved CIS forms to ODE CMP. Let's review how to verify that a CIS is valid. Section 1, Household Information, Section 2, Student, meaning participants' information, and Section 5, Signature, Date, and last four or no Social Security number. The CIS is valid from the month that it is signed in until the end of the same month 1 year later. The CIS is considered valid if these sections are completed. However, more information is needed to ensure that the CIS is considered completed. There are 3 ways a CIS may be considered to be complete based on how it is completed. First, if the child is a foster child, this is the only additional area that must be completed. If the family is eligible based on public benefits, Section 3 will be completed in addition to the other sections. If one child in the household is receiving SNAP, FDPIR, or TANF benefits, all other children in the household listed on the form are also categorically eligible for the SFSP. And if the family is eligible based on income, then Section 4 must be completed. Note that only one of these 3 sections is required to be completed in order to determine a participant's eligibility. As sponsor staff, you will document if a participant is eligible for free or reduced price meals or not. If so, the person responsible for reviewing the forms will indicate what the participant is eligible for, how they were determined to be eligible, and sign and date the form. Depending on which way the family may qualify for free or reduced price meals, there is additional information needed to be able to verify the information provided. If the participant is indicated as being a foster child, the family or guardian will need to provide documentation that shows that the participant is court-appointed to this family or guardian, and they are a responsibility of the state. Informal means of foster parenting cannot be accepted, and the family will need to use another method to qualify the child. If the family selects SNAP or TANF, the section needs to be completed, but no supporting documentation is required. Families must select which program they receive benefits from and include a valid case number on the CIS form. Examples of a legitimate SNAP number include the letter F followed by 8 digits, a Social Security number, which is 9 digits, 2 letters followed by 3 digits, a letter, a digit, and a letter, or the number 4 followed by 8 digits. Examples of a legitimate TANF case number include 2 letters and 4 digits, or 3 letters and 3 digits. To verify if a family would qualify based on the income, on the right-hand side of the screen is an image of what the income eligibility guidelines looks like. Sponsors will need to use the income eligibility guidelines that are effective for the time period in which the family completes the CIS form in. Income eligibility guidelines are effective from July 1 to June 30th of the succeeding year. The effective dates for the guidelines is listed at the top of the page. For example, if a family completes a CIS prior to June 30th, 2023, you will use the income eligibility guidelines effective from July 1, 2022 to June 30th of 2023. Later, if the family completes a CIS in July of 2023, you will need the income eligibility guidelines effective from July 1, 2023 to June 30th of 2024 to accurately determine the family's eligibility. Using the number in the household as indicated by the family on the CIS and the income as listed by the family on the CIS, to determine if they are under the thresholds for reduced price or free meals. If the family's income falls below the thresholds on the free meals chart, the participant will qualify for free meals. If the family's income is above the thresholds on free meals chart, but below the thresholds on reduced price meals chart, the participant will qualify for reduced price meals. These guidelines are available on the ODE CMP SFSP webpage. As sponsor staff, you will need to document if the participant is eligible for free or reduced price meals or not. If so, the person responsible for reviewing the forms will indicate what the participant is eligible for, how they were determined to be eligible, and sign and date the form. The location to document this is at the bottom of the CIS. Sponsors must maintain original approved forms for all eligible children, and the documents must be available for review by ODE CMP. For camps, these forms may be in separate files for each camp session. Sponsors are not required to submit approved CIS forms to ODE CMP. The CIS is not the only way to determine participant eligibility. There are a few alternate pathways to document participant eligibility. When SFSP sponsors have to obtain individual eligibility information, they can obtain student-specific eligibility status from another child nutrition program operator, such as a school or child care center, to expedite the certification process. However, when release is limited to a participant name and eligibility status, the release needs to be made with informed consent by the parent or guardian. It is best practice to include a section on enrollment documentation for families to indicate that it is acceptable for the sponsor to obtain the participant's free or reduced price meal eligibility status from another child nutrition program operator. This can then be shared with the appropriate child nutrition program operators to show the parent or guardian has given informed consent. Children experiencing homelessness are also automatically eligible for free meals. A child or family may temporarily reside with another household and still be considered homeless. The SFSP institution can determine eligibility for homeless children through documentation provided by the homeless liaison or another source. The Department of Defense provides certain members of the armed forces and their families a Family Subsistence Supplemental Allowance, or FSSA, designed to bring a household's income up to the federal poverty line and decrease the reliance on SNAP for affected members and their families. The amount of the FSSA, based on household size and income, may not exceed $500 per month. Additionally, Haitian refugees and evacuees of Japan and Bahrain living in the United States with host families are considered homeless and are eligible for free meals. The household size and income of the host family should not be taken into consideration when determining the free meal eligibility for the children. Instead, the children should be designated as homeless by the SFSP's institution's liaison. Applicants that participate in the Workforce Investment Act, or WIA program, are considered categorically income eligible. The WIA is designed to link local labor market needs and community youth programs and service. For purposes of establishing SFSP eligibility, sponsors must obtain either a signed CIS with the notation that the applicant is a WIA participant, or a list containing the names and ages of individual WIA participants enrolled at that site and signed by a WIA official. The Housing Alliance for Military Personnel living in privatized housing has been permanently excluded from consideration as income when determining household eligibility for free or reduced price meals. Privatized housing refers to the Military Housing Privatization Initiative, a program operating in a number of military installations. It is important to note that this income exclusion is only for service members living in housing covered under the initiative. It is not an allowable exclusion for households living off base in the general commercial private real estate market. Military combat pay has been excluded from consideration as income when determining household eligibility for free or reduced price meals. Combat pay is defined as an additional payment made under Chapter 5 of Title 37 of the United States Code, or as otherwise designated by the Secretary to be excluded, that is received by the household member who is deployed to a designated combat zone. Combat pay is excluded if it is received in addition to the service member's basic pay, received as a result of the service member's deployment to or service in an area that has been designated as a combat zone, and not received by the service member prior to his or her deployment to or service in a designated combat zone. A combat zone is any area that the President of the United States designates by executive order as an area in which the U.S. Armed Forces are engaging or have engaged in combat. The exclusion of combat pay, also described above, is extended to the Deployment Extension Incentive Pay, or DEIP. DEIP is given to active duty service members who agree to extend their military service by completing deployment with their units without re-enlisting. This exemption applies only to the service members returned to their home station. Any additional DEIP payments provided to service members serving at their home station is considered income, as they are no longer considered to be deployed. Children enrolled in a federal and state-funded Head Start or Early Head Start programs are categorically eligible for free meals in SFSP without further application. Sponsors may establish eligibility of all Head Start enrollees through documentation provided by the Head Start program. Forms of acceptable documentation include an approved Head Start application, a statement of Head Start enrollment, or a list of participants from a Head Start official. In certain circumstances, pregnant women who receive early Head Start services are also eligible to receive meals through SFSP if they are age 18 or under. To establish eligibility, prospective mothers must be enrolled in early Head Start and be eligible to receive school meals through the NSLP or another child nutrition program. There are a few key items to keep in mind regarding participant eligibility. First, income eligibility information is valid for 12 months and must be updated annually. Eligibility determinations cannot be made with documentation that is over 12 months old. CISs are current and valid until the last day of the month in which the form was dated 1 year earlier. This means that a form signed and dated by a sponsor on June 1st of 2023 is considered valid until June 30th of 2024. Sponsors have the flexibility concerning the effective date of certification for program benefits. This flexibility applies only to eligibility determinations made through the application process of complete applications containing all required information at the time of submission. The date to be used to make the determination is the date on which either the parent or guardian signs the form or the sponsor official signs the application to certify eligibility of the participant. Sponsors must decide which date they will rely on as the effective date and apply this date to all applications. Overt identification is any action that may result in a child being recognized as potentially eligible to receive or certified for free or reduced price school meals. At all times during the participant eligibility determination process, sponsors must be sure to prevent overt identification. Sponsors must assure that the child's eligibility status is not disclosed at any point in the process of providing free meals, including notification of the availability of free meal benefits, certification and notification of eligibility, and provision of meals in the cafeteria and the point of service. The following actions are prevented by law and regulation as overt identification: publicizing or announcing eligible households or children's names who qualify for free meals or vice versa, having separate dining areas, service times, or serving lines, limiting choices of reimbursable meals, and requiring that children work for their meals. Using different mediums of exchange. This refers to prevention of overt identification in the food service area, especially at the point of service. Any meal cards, tickets, tokens, or other methods to obtain reimbursable meals cannot be coded or colored in a manner that would overtly identify free meal eligible children. In addition, sponsors must take steps to ensure that rosters, computer screens, or other equipment used at the point of service cannot be viewed by anyone not needing the information, especially students. Further, the information on the rosters or screens should be master coded to avoid other students discerning any student's eligibility status. So what happens if participants do not have valid and complete CIS or other eligibility documentation? In these instances, that participant must be considered above scale. This means that the participant does not qualify for free or reduced price meals. Note that if a participant has documentation but it is over a year old, this documentation is considered expired and new documentation is required. If the site is a camp, meals for participants without documentation showing they are eligible for free or reduced price meals may not be claimed. If the site is closed enrolled, participants are still considered enrolled, they just cannot be counted towards the free or reduced price percentage of participants. If the site falls below the 50% mark of the number of participants eligible for free or reduced price meals, the site may not claim any meals for reimbursement. In summary, this training reviewed types of enrolled programs, how to determine the eligibility of a participant, alternate eligibility documentation, and final notes on participant eligibility. If you have any questions, please reach out to your assigned child nutrition specialist. Here's a short message from the Oregon Department of Education. ODE supports equity and excellence for every learner and seeks to work with school districts, education service districts, and community partners like you. We believe all children should have access to high-quality, well-rounded learning experiences. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Thank you for taking this training. We hope you found it useful.